All right, top albums. Gene. Let's do our honorable mentions first. I mean, I wrote down a ton of these, dude. The first one I wrote down for an honorable mention, "Good for You" by Amina. I feel like that's an
Yeah,
album that
one of
we
mine too.
talked about and didn't get enough love. But that is just a fun ass album, dude.
Yep.
One of the years I stood out as an honorable mention.
Rhapsody's Lala's Wisdom. It's actually nominated for Best Rap Album. I think it's a really great listen. It's very lyrical. It's has a lot to say, and Rhapsody continues to grow as an MC. It's a great record.
Awesome. I put down Paramours After Laughter, which I've been going back and forth to decide not to put it on my list. I know that was
Yep.
something one that you really appreciated as well. And
Yeah,
also,
definitely out of left field in terms of their past work. You know, the '80s influence. It was a pleasant surprise earlier this year.
yeah, also just a couple to just run through quick. St. Vincent Mass Seduction, we talked about that one. Thundercat Drunk, Mount Kimby, Love What Survives, we talked about. Back Colors, and two that I didn't talk about that I just wanted to shout out. Julian Baker, Turn Out the Lights, and Always Antisocial Lights. Those two albums were great. We didn't get to talk about them on the pod, but if you're looking for something just to finish up your year you haven't gotten to, I recommend those two albums. What other honorable mentions do you want to jump into?
Yeah, I just have two more. Without Warning, the solo project album, whatever, by Metro Boomin, 21 Savage, and Offset from Migos, had no business being as good as it was. Just a bunch of fucking bangers. And it's funny because they have very different styles. You know, Offset's very all about the glamour, where 21's all about the murder, and it works really well. A lot of good songs on there.
Mm-hmm.
And then my other honorable mention is More Life by Drake. It was a great follow up to Views. Definitely more lively. A lot of good songs in there. I really like Galchester, I think, and No Long Talk probably are the ones that have stuck with me the most.
Portland.
But yeah, Portland's amazing too. I know you might have a record on there coming up. So is it too long? Yes, of course, but it's a playlist, so it's okay.
We can't even make our album of the year.
Drizzy Drake, as he gets into his 30s, he's doing just good, just fine.
So Dave, what was your number 10 album for the year?
My number 10, I didn't initially have this because I despite acknowledging this problem in the past, I still forgot. Run the Jewels 3.
Oh, it did make your list. Check you out.
Yeah,
I had Run the Jewels at number 5 for me.
Right. I mean, it was a better record than More Life, so I decided to put it in there anyway. Mm-hmm. Came out on what, Christmas Eve, 2016. Yep.
Dropped at like 10 o'clock on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, so obviously missed everyone's list, both publications and ours, and I think it's being forgotten by a lot of the outlets too, as far as what I've read. But it's the best Run the Jewels record to date. Run the Jewels, of course, like an LP, very poignant, very lyrical guys. LP's got a very unique production. They're OGs in the game, so they really know their way on the mic. And I mean, Cole Tickerton video just came out. Legend has it was in the Black Panther teaser. It's just excellent rap. And anyone who says that rap is really bad these days, usually those people haven't heard of Run the Jewels. You know, yeah, there's nothing bad to say about the record or those guys.
Yeah, I think the only thing I wanted to add was this is like their most bombastic and biggest album too, and it's kind of almost like a proclamation of like Run the Jewels as like an institution in the rap game, because their rhymes are fantastic. Even the song that they dropped for the FIFA game was phenomenal. So they had a great year, and they're teasing something bigger too, so or something else for the end of this year. So I'm gonna screw up all of our list again.
Yeah, well, they threw out the date, the 15th, and then the Call of Tickerton video came out. So I'm not sure if that's all it was. But they even had that song on the Baby Driver soundtrack with Danger Mouse, and that actually got a Grammy attention. So despite the fact that RTJ3 was still snubbed, they're more famous than ever, which is great.
Huge year for them. My number 10 was the XX ICU, the return of the XX after 3 years. It made number 10 because I thought it was a really good album that could have been better. But the thing that they did best was they basically were like, Oh, Jamie XX dropped maybe the best electronic record of the past 10 years. We're just going to let him take the lead, and we're going to give our amazing vocals. And the album is very different from other XX albums, but it's more colorful. It takes on a bigger sound palette, which is definitely important. And it's worth a listen. And I think it's probably the second best album in their 3 album discography, but they're all pretty excellent. So number 2, maybe not, but definitely check it out. Number 9, just to jump into my number 9, someone that I don't know if we talked about in here, Moses Sumney, A Romanticism. He's an R&B singer. This was a very like quiet but like beautiful album that used layering of voice and sound and different string instruments to really get across an amazing feeling. When I listened to it, I see that scene from La La Land of Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone dancing with the sunset in the background a lot. It seems to be like the best description I can give of it. So it's really beautiful. Check that album out. What was your number 9, Dave?
Yeah, my number 9 was a pop record I actually found a little later after it had come out. It's a Dua Lipa's debut album, self-titled. She's a British pop star, and she's kind of been bubbling for a while, and she still hasn't quite broken out in the States. I mean, the song New Rules is her biggest song. It's got like 500 million YouTube plays, right? But overall, it's actually just a really fun album. There's a lot of like good songs on it, and like lively pop music too, like New Rules, Genesis, I Don't Give a Fuck, Hotter Than Hell, and Blow Your Mind. I mean, 5 songs right there that I just really enjoy. And she's a fun pop star. She's got her own little lane. So I'm happy to hear more in the future.
Also, yeah, I've seen her on a lot of end of year lists. So I'm not surprised that you had her up there. What was your number 8?
My number 8 was Flower Boy by Tyler, the Creator.
Yeah, NPR gave this, I think, like number 4 or 5 this year, something like that. It was really high up on their list.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we expected Tyler to be able to make such a cohesive, thoughtful project. It was very certainly different from Cherry Bomb, but even more different from his early work, where he was more known for being very vulgar and violent. But yeah, I mean, Who That Boy is a nice banger with Rocky, but Garden Shed, I mean, fucking Boredom. There's so many like thoughtful, somber songs, and obviously he comes out on the record, which came out left field on its own. Yeah, it's really really well crafted, and Tyler's he's always had a great ear for production, and that shines through here as well. Frank Ocean comes in for a little help as well. It's a really really special record. I don't have any Flower Boy songs on my top 10, but I think overall as a project, it's worth honoring.
Yeah, and sonically for Tyler, the Creator, it's so different, but he incorporates different elements of like jazz and R&B into it so well that it's really just well done. My number 8, I think you have it on your list too. Vince Staples' Big Fish Theory. Where did it fall for you?
He's number 6 for me.
Number 6. So we're not far off. I really, listening to a lot of these albums recently for this list, I was really just struck by like the range of the album. The sound goes from like house to trap at times. It really is just very inventive, and Vince also, I think, has some of the most thoughtful and thought-provoking bars on this album. He's also just a really cool artist in general. I really like him. He was great on Bill Simmons' show, R.I.P. Bill Simmons' show.
Yeah, he's hilarious. Great interview. Just because.
What did you like about the album?
Yeah. Well, he's so frank as a person. It also comes out in his music. He'll casually rap about his days as a gangbanger, and then he'll immediately talk about like the prison industrial complex, like 2 bars later. Right. He's very thoughtful, but also very frank. And like you said, the production is so varied. I mean, Cali G Funk, obviously he's from Long Beach, West Coast sound. Then he'll flip to the house sound. Like listen to Bag Back. That's also in the Black Panther trailer. I've been a fan of Vince for quite some time, but this album, no one saw coming because he's never had so much, variety in his work before. But we always knew he was a thoughtful guy. So the fact that it kind of, came full circle on this. It's not to say that the record is flawless. I think there are some lulls in it because he does so many different things. But I mean, overall, just the ambition is so commendable.
Definitely. I totally agree with everything you said. Just to kind of keep it moving, number 7 for me was Spoon, Hot Thoughts. I saw them recently perform this, well, most of their hits, but a lot of songs off this album. And I was listening to it a lot getting ready for the concert. This album grew on me throughout the year. I think I liked it, but didn't love it when it came out. This is an album I really ride for now. And I think what I really like about it is just how they continue to grow as a band. And Spoon, I mean, this is probably their second or third strongest effort. They have a really long discography, so to say that is commendable. But the part that they really used this time was dance and an electronic sound to really give them some variety and move them in a new direction. And it pushed them, and they definitely bring that out in their live shows. And this album in general just is good, song 1 to song 10 or 11. So definitely check Spoon out. Give me your number 7 and number 6, Dave. Then we'll jump to the top 5s.
Sure. Just one quick question: do you think Hot Thoughts is the best or most interesting rock record of the year?
It's well, it depends on what you would count LCD Soundsystem as, but it'd be the highest one on my list if you don't count LCD Soundsystem.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, LCD is definitely a little out there, unique. So
yeah,
fair point. You said 7 and 6. Well, yeah. Well, 6 was Vince Staples, and 8 was Flower Boy, and 7 for me was All American Badass by your man Leon from Mr. Robot, Joey Badass.
Yes. KKK, man.
Yeah, that's the guy. Joey came out with the first overtly political record of 2017, I would say. Definitely the first of rap's kind. I mean, YG had Fuck Donald Trump, but that was only a song last year.
Right.
All American Badass. It's not, there's some anti-Trump sentiment throughout the songs, but the overall sentiment's more about the plight of the black man and just racism and trying to be better. I think the song Temptation has a video that's a very lively song because it's about I think it's like about perseverance, and it's really it's not all doom and gloom for Joey Badass, right. But he does call it how it is, and yeah, it's a very criminally under-listened record. It did not do well in its first week. And I think that's because this is an album that's not going to garner new fans. This is just doubling down on his base because it's so hyper-focused, such a concept album. Mm-hmm. But, it definitely stands out in the rap landscape this year and absolutely worth everyone's time.
Yeah, this was, I think this was an album that was forgotten and didn't necessarily get as much love as it needed to.
Well, it came out the week before Kendrick, so that
right.
Definitely didn't help.
And that was the same week as More Life, too?
More Life was like a week before that, yeah.
So
it was
a
busy time
to drop an album. My number 6 was Sampha, Process. We talked about it at the beginning of the year. It's just a really beautiful album, an up-and-coming artist. I mean, he's worked with Kanye and Drake.
Yep.
Where he goes with these songs in this album, it's such a personal album about loss and grief and pain, and he delivers it so beautifully through. And I mean, I think the songs that stick with me, the biggest song off the album was Blood on Me, which is it's almost like exacerbated in the song. I was reading up on the song, just I was interested in how he got the sound, and he actually went for a run before he would record the vocals because he wanted to sound like he was running in this dreamlike song. But the song that sticks with me most is No One Knows Me Like the Piano of My Mother's Home. Just very touching, moving, purely piano vocal sound. And Sampha is going to be huge. I have no doubt about it. This is a great first album. So jumping into my top 5, I already talked about Run the Jewels. I'm just going to jump to my number 4 then. LCD Soundsystem, American Dream. So I'm a huge LCD Soundsystem fan, Dave. I saw them again this past Friday, and I was interested because a lot of people knocked this album. A lot of big LCD fans were not as high on American Dream.
Mm-hmm.
Did you check it out?
No, I've been meaning to listen to them from the start, so I haven't started that yet.
That is a smart move. I think when I gave my review, I was high on it, but I said for an LCD effort, it's probably one of their worst. I judge LCD a lot of times by how they do live now. After seeing them 3 or 4 times, these songs fit into the live show very well. I think the most interesting thing about this album and a reason why it's still an excellent album is James Murphy, the lead singer of LCD, uses a lot more of personal experience. Wait 1 second.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's an interesting figure, and I always like to dig on LCD for their fake breakup, but
right.
This record seems to have resonated.
Yeah, he just used a lot more of his own edginess. A lot of LCD before was focused on the softer side of pain, but he really brings a hard part to it, and he brings LCD sound from the first 3 albums into this one, so it's a very eclectic album for them. Definitely worth a listen, and if you're gonna check out one song, other than the one that'll be on my top 10 list, I would say "Tonight" by them is the most LCD. It's very cheeky, but also brings in a dance sound with rock that fits so perfectly. I just fucking love LCD, dude. They're such a good band. What were your 5 and 4 songs?
So 5 was a Brockhampton record. Can you guess which one?
Saturation 3.
No, I decided to go with Saturation 1. I don't think I've sat with Saturation 3 enough to, make that call. So I'll maybe I'll update that at some point. But right now it's Saturation 1. Talked a lot about Brockhampton last week before our Star Wars Last Jedi review, so check that out. SoundCloud.com/nostalgiapod plus YouTube. But quick rehash, Brockhampton is a very eclectic, unique, wide-ranging rap crew, self-styled boy band. They have a lot of good rappers in there, but they most importantly bring a lot of unique ideas to song creation and sonics, and very Kanye West inspired, very nerd inspired, and they're only just beginning. They're going to be huge stars, so please get on board now while you can. I'm very excited to see them in concert this February. So yeah, Saturation 1, probably their most famous song to date. Gold is on that record, as well as Star, which has just amazing punchlines. So, but overall, I think that album is probably 80% like good to great. I really enjoy it.
I'm excited to get into them in the beginning of this coming year. You definitely turned me on to them, and I listened to Boogie today just because I put it onto the Nowstalgia best of list, and I was like bobbing my head in my office, like people were like looking in, like what the fuck am I listening to? It was great. I'm excited to get more. Right? Yeah, it's fucking awesome, dude.
Yeah. So number 4 is a record that came out very early in the year, but it might be the first big record of 2017. I'm not sure if it came out before the XX or not. And this would be Culture by Migos.
It definitely came out before. Well, I don't know. I think it did, but yeah, Bad and Bougie was basically the song of the end of 2016, basically. It was
right, yeah. Everywhere. Bad and Bougie came out in October and started bubbling, rising up, and then Donald Glover put it over the top at the Golden Globes when he shouted him out. Yeah, number 1 the next day. But yeah, I think Migos really came into their own this year, and of course, Offset and Quavo in particular had great years as solo artists as well. And Culture as a record really showcases the Triplets flow that they made famous, and the rap landscape has used in Scores.
Scores.
Scores. Yeah, and of course their chemistry as a trio, they're all basically related. They've known each other forever, but they'll finish each other's sentences, and obviously the ad-libs are second to none. And on top of that, they just have a lot of fun records, and this album is full of them. I mean, you said Bad and Bougie. I mean, T-Shirt and Get Right With You and Slippery with an excellent Gucci Mane feature, and Kelly Price with Travis Scott. It's just they're just such a fun group.
That's what I was gonna say. They're just so much fucking fun, dude.
Yeah, and I think Culture. It's tough to really say anything bad about it because it's so good at what it's doing.
Culture didn't make my list, but it was one of my honorable mentions. I didn't want to step on your list, so I left it off. But definitely enjoyed that one. Number 3 for you, Dave.
Hova, 444.
Throwing up the dynasty sign, bro.
Yeah, dog. JayZ. I saw him perform at the Meadows too, which was awesome. JayZ did not know what to expect coming into this. His last two records, The Blueprint 3 and Magna Carta Holy Grail, were very corporate, very uninspired. I mean, JayZ's only number one hit to date is Empire State of Mind, which is a fun song, but not the greatest song.
Mm-hmm.
So he's kind of been up and down. The most exciting thing about his career the past 6-7 years, actually even later, because his records were Kingdom Come in 06 was really bad too, and American Gangster was okay. The most exciting thing he had done recently was Watch the Throne. That was because Kanye fucking produced the shit out of that,
Mm-hmm.
So coming into this, an old JayZ, he just turned, I believe, 48. He was 47 when the record came out this summer. We saw what happens when old rappers think they still got it with Eminem last week, but JayZ did not do this. He came out with his most insightful, introspective, personal record to date. I mean, it's still kind of unbelievable that a rapper, he's the first rapper of his kind to make something so good at an old age, because rap is no doubt a young man's game. And I mean, the story of OJ, that's a song that got a Song of the Year nomination from the Grammys.
Yep.
And I mean, OJ say, "I'm not black, I'm OJ." Long pause. Okay. Like, that's more poignant, just okay, than scores of rappers this year, scores of anyone. Like,
yep.
And I mean, you go through all the record, 444, the title track. It's like, oh, did JayZ really cheat? It was just a stunt for Lemonade last year, right? And JayZ's like, nah, bro, I cheated. Like, he just fucking spells it out. And then even like his mom comes out as a lesbian on this. That would have been a huge deal if this was anyone else's record, if it was any other year. And then No ID's production is immaculate. Really, really great attention to the album. Very cohesive. And the way it ends with Marcy Me is awesome. Great record that I think is actually a little underappreciated, underlistened, because it's stuck on title.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the songs actually have a YouTube video now, like a music video, so you can listen to, I think, at least half the album that way. So I recommend that, because the highs on this album are just so high. I actually toyed with having this number one, just because I think as a record, it's incredibly cohesive. It's so focused, and I really toyed with it for number one.
Yeah, I think we were talking about what to expect of JayZ in this album coming out. I think we were saying it was probably going to be more like Revival than what it turned out to be. So it's definitely exciting. And it actually makes me feel optimistic for rappers as they get older. So I think up until this point, most people kind of say, well, when you reach a certain age, you just don't have anything to say anymore, and your career basically fades away. But JayZ seems to be paving a different path, which makes me excited, because I don't want to see someone like Kanye West or JayZ fade off into the distance. I want to enjoy more of their songs. So hopefully they're able to do this successfully. Right. My number 3 was SZA Control. Jesus, it's been a long fucking day. Control. I was playing this the other day just to kind of check out some of the songs I hadn't heard in a while, and I started off just from the beginning, and I just ended up listening to the first 6 songs without even noticing like I'd gotten through them, and they're all so fucking good. I think like 1 through 6 that might be the best beginning, like strongest first 6 songs of an album this year in general. And this is her second effort as an artist, and it's so personal and so well written. A song like Doves in the Wind that features Kendrick, or even like Love Galore, which I've seen a lot of people's like top 10 song lists. Didn't make my, I picked actually a different one from this album, which I've been like sitting with for months now and just loving. Just so beautiful. And SZA, I think, is going to be a fucking huge star, and this is her coming out. She said that she didn't even like music until her last album, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, like you said, she's going to be a star, Best New Artist nominated. I think she's the odds-on favorite to win that. Supermodel, Weekend, and the other song you're going to mention later is a lot of great songs. And as a rap fan, I've known of SZA for a long time because she signed the TDE, where Kendrick, Schoolboy, J-Rock, and Absa are signed. So we've known of her for a while, and we've also known of her issues with just her output and just having trouble getting her music made. And I've never expected SZA to release a critically acclaimed album like this. I mean, it was probably 50-50 that she was going to fade away, because of her label issues. And I mean, what a triumph, I'm really happy for her.
So just to keep moving forward, Kendrick Lamar's Damn was my number 2. There's not much else to other than like Humble, Loyalty, Love, and DNA might be like 4 of the top songs on anyone's list if you didn't give a fuck about variety and just like, I'm just gonna pick the best songs. Those, I mean, the whole album is classic. Kendrick is like the art of rapping at this point, and just rap and R&B music making. I think what really made this album so wonderful to me was just where like the different places he went to on this album. Like a song like Love, something we've never seen from Kendrick doing a love song.
Right.
He does it so perfectly, but not in a corny way, which, you see someone like Drake, who is considered to be a peer of Kendrick and someone that's up on that level of stature in the rap game. He makes the corniest fucking songs ever, and people clown him for it. Kendrick makes a love song. People say that it's a beautifully written and poignant song. Yeah, Damn. If you haven't listened to it, I don't really know why you would listen to our podcast, because it's pretty much the epitome of everything we like in music. So where's Damn on your list?
Damn's number 1 for me.
Yeah.
The reason I toyed with Hove at number 1 is because I really think that Damn is Kendrick's least cohesive record. I think that's pretty unquestionable. This is his most radio friendly record to date.
Poptimism.
And it's honestly, it's just straight up not focused. But because Kendrick is such a fucking stud, it also doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
To Pimp a Butterfly was his touchdown, and Damn is just his victory celebration.
Touchdown dance.
Yeah.
Lambo leap, if you will.
An underappreciated song, the last song, Duckworth. Lyrical as fuck. You mentioned corny songs, Drake getting clowned. Kendrick should have been clowned more for God.
Yeah, probably.
That's what God like. That song is low-key whack. I'm not gonna lie.
Kendrick gets a pass for all the other quality he puts out, and it's actually interesting because as you're talking about his least cohesive album, I mean I totally agree, but I think that just speaks to how cohesive his other albums are, because not many people make albums as cohesive as Pimp a Butterfly,
Good Kid,
or even Good Kid, Mad City. So what was your number 2 then? If that was your number 1,
my number 2 is your number 1.
Oh, Melodrama. This is when we did our mid-year. These were at the middle, and I was like, "There's no way that we're going to get through the year with these two still being the top 2," and we did, which I think just speaks to the quality of these. So I'll let you take the lead on talking about Melodrama then.
I mean, honestly, this is an interesting record because if you look at all the outlets, some people have this album top 5 on their list. Some people have this in the 40s. Everyone knows it's worth honoring, but the range is all over the place, and I think that really speaks to just overall personal taste, honestly. Yeah. But what you can't deny is what Lorde actually does on this album, and Lorde is a pop star who became super famous at a very young age, of course, with when Royals busted out when that was 2013 or 2014, it was a while ago, 2013, and she kind of went away since then. And she comes back a little older, a little more wizened, more experienced now, but she still kind of preserves her youth and tries to grapple with that on the record, despite now being really famous. And it's really a shame that Greenlight and Supercut weren't bigger hits. Honestly, it's just kind of weird that didn't happen. Age of streaming, you would have banked on that, but it didn't really go that way. And then Liability, such a ballad. The Louvre has some great wordplay, and then Perfect Places is poppy as hell. But I that's probably my favorite song on the record. Honestly, it's a little corny, but I really really love it. It's probably the most it's not even probably, it's the most important like pure pop music in the traditional sense record, no doubt. Um, yeah, I mean, Lorde's still really young. She's what, 21, 22. Like, really happy to see her career as it continues to grow.
You know, especially for someone so young, it's easy when you're writing an album that's mostly focused on um, like the ending of a relationship, the breakup, and the post, like the aftermath of it. It's very easy to make these songs be grating and whiny and just very sad. And Lorde takes such a different perspective on it. I mean, like Greenlight is basically about the okay to move on and move forward and have a life. Like she delves in and out of the emotional highs of this record with such grace. And you know, a song like The Louvre, it's so different than any other song on the album and any pop song you'll ever hear, because it basically takes a chorus out and replaces it with you know, a sound, a drum beat that
That was Jack Antonoff incarnate, that
you know,
song.
exactly. And it's just, I think it really pushes the boundaries of pop songs in 2017 and moving forward, and just writing an album in general. We talked about it a lot, so we don't need to belabor it, but definitely a fantastic album. I'm glad that we each had it so high on our list.